there are a number of addresses that we are not allowed to use out on the internet backbone. In other words, routers out on the internet will not accept packets that are addressed to these IP addresses. So we call them reserved addresses. The first is the private class A addresses, and that is anything starting with 10. So we cannot use a 10 address out on the internet. We can use it locally on an internal network. Let's say that I've got some computers on my internal network and then a router, and then that goes out, of course, to the cloud like this. Well, I can use these here, my 10 dot something, internally, and then NAT translates that as it goes out so that the internet sees it as a different address. There's also a class B private address space. And this is 172.16, well, 16 to 31, and then anything after that. They're used in exactly the same way as the 10 dots. It's just up to you which ones you want to use. There's also a private class C address, or set of addresses, I should say, 192.168.anything. So again, these are used the same way. So all three of these, it's just your choice which one you want to use, but they're all used in exactly the same way. The next one is the 127. These are for Loopback, and this is really for testing. And they are 127.anything. Now you're probably most familiar with 127.0.0.1, but it doesn't have to be that. So I'm going to call up here a command line, command prompt, and I'm going to ping 127. And I'll just make something up, 32.100.76. And let's see if that works. Sure enough, it pings just fine. That's because it's a loopback address. And all I'm doing is I'm testing my network card and my software to make sure that all the networking stuff is working correctly on my computer. The next one we have is the, well, let me get rid of this thing here. There we go. The next one we have is what we call APIPA, P-I-P-A. It stands for Automatic Private IP Address. So again, this is a private IP address, but it's automatic. That is to say, if a computer can't get an IP address, I haven't typed one in, or it doesn't have a DHCP server to get one from, it can assign itself an IP address. 169.254.something. And it will choose a number on its own in order to assign itself an APIPA address. I don't know if anybody else uses these except Microsoft, but it is used quite frequently in the Microsoft world. So just be aware, if you ever see a 169.254, and I said 255, I miswrote that, should be 254, then you know immediately that the computer will not go out on the internet, and it's probably going to have trouble talking even to its local network because it probably didn't get a DHCP server or wasn't assigned a manual or a manual IP address. The next one we have are the multicast addresses. These are 224 to 239 dot anything. So these are used if, let's say, a server here wants to contact a certain number of PCs. So it wants to contact, in this case, let's say these, and they've all been set up with a multicast address so that they will recognize the multicast address. Then it can contact just those on its network. The next one would be the experimental class E, and these are 240 and on, 240 to 255 dot anything. Those were reserved for experimental use and are not usable on the internet. Now, these are not all of them, but these are all of them that you certainly need to learn and memorize for this course and for the Microsoft MTA. There are a few others, but they are far less common.